those production changes. Like, we're basically left in the dark as much as you. But every tiny bit of extra production quality is much appreciated. So that's really cool to see.
Also, just quickly looking at the schedule, the extra 2 hours at the start, it looks like it's not so much as we start earlier, we finish earlier. It's we start earlier and finish the same time, because it looks like there's 2 extra series that day.
Oh, that is interesting.
According to the schedule I have. It's interesting for me. But for now, we're loading in. It is Sky Temple, I believe I saw it. Yes, I am correct. As our first map, with the one to ban out first.
Alrighty then. So, quick point back to Hehe. The thing that I like most about him, when compared to other good and strong warrior players in China, is his hero diversity. I think, as you could see there, his most played hero used to be Arthas. Of course, in the current meta, Arthas doesn't really fit in that well, especially the changes to his baseline physical armor, and the removal of which really hurt, in my opinion. But he's still not shy, or he's still not afraid of actually trying out new warriors. Like, he plays the Anubrag, which is not really that popular in China as a whole. He plays other warriors like ETC quite a lot, has also fallen out of favor in China. So let's see what he's going to bring to the table here today.
So we're starting off with the Maiev and the Genji bans. We believe that we are playing on the live patch right now. Once again, this is information that we don't really have, and we also don't speak Chinese, so it's going to be hard to translate anything at the top of the screen.
Yeah, exactly. So it should actually be in accordance with the other HGC regions, I believe. So Irel is definitely going to be there. I think that much we can say. And the other changes, the other crucial balance changes to heroes like Rhaegar, for example, should also be live here. So we see a lot of Rhaegar actually coming back into the competitive scene here. Whether you watch NA or EU, you're definitely going to find your favorite doggy back in the mix, which is pretty cool.
We now have a confirmed 8 series. Why couldn't that have been on Wednesday? That would have been fine, but sure, Tuesday it is. We're seeing Phoenix as the first pick, and another hero who I think got some changes that I actually think were very impactful to their performance. That's Tracer.
Yeah, Tracer, of course, Tracer has been tackled many, many times in the past. And I think most people will probably agree with all the changes that Blizzard has applied, because on a hero like Tracer that is so hard to catch, that is still so dangerous at the same time, you just want to make sure that, especially in the pro scene where reaction speed and execution is much more precise, it needs to be a little more forgiving, let's put it this way, when you face Tracer and you don't catch her immediately or you miss position, because up to this point it had been super punishing and super unforgiving.
And so, with Diablo stolen away very sensibly, as Phoenix still very high up in priority, and a Malthael being brought out here very early, pre any kind of other solo laner here.
Yeah, and which is quite strange here, actually. If you think about it, Irel in all the other regions has become the new go-to solo laner. It's oftentimes banned out simply because of how impactful and how strong she is. She's got an abundance of tools ready that every solo laner could only dream of. Self-sustained. She's got decent wave clear, low mana cost, mobility, and that CC, most importantly, you name it. And that has actually led her to become an absolute bully when matched up against fierily super strong solo laners like, let's say, the Blaze, the Dehaka, the Malthael. She basically owns them all.
Yeah. The best description I saw for Yrel as a hero currently, with her current, I would maybe describe it as overtuning. We'll see as time goes on and people work her out more. And that is, she doesn't have the best wave clear in the world, she doesn't have the best sustain in the world, but she has enough of both and enough of everything else that she becomes very oppressive.
Yeah, and there's a couple of...
It's going to annoy you.
Exactly. And especially, I feel like, because of that one talent called Marad's Insight, right at the level 1. After every basic attack, you gain a little bit of health on your next basic attack. This is just so strong. And it remains strong throughout the game, not just in the laning phase, right? When you face your solo opponent, but also in team fights. You can always bank on Yrel's tankiness. She's going to be a real menace, as you said, hard to get rid of, and as such, really a jack of all trades. Like, she can initiate, she can protect. Really good hero.
Although her sound design is godlike, I think we can both agree on that fairly easily. Really? You don't like her sound design?
No, I was trying to mimic her battle cry.
Oh, I see.
Because she's a very loud, good girl.
Yeah, the hammer sounds are just great. Every ability, even the, like you said, the Mirad's Insight and the Cleave Time, which I don't remember the name of, just have beautiful sound effects.
Yeah.
So we see Jaina coming in, another slow denied away here, and the Hanzo. So the one now have three potential slow appliers with the Heradric Cube, the Cold Embrace is the Sylvanas one, Cold something from the Malthael, and of course the Plasma Cutter from Phoenix himself to set up for a Purification Salvo. So what else do they want? Probably leaning towards something like a Muradin here at this point. Yeah,
Muradin might be a good call. It's actually quite fascinating to see Muradin back in the meta so impactfully, I should say, because the hero itself, the hero himself hasn't really been changed much, right? Muradin hasn't received any major nerfs nor any major buffs in the most recent past. So simply due to the fact that the meta has shifted a little bit, other warriors were nerfed, armor changes, etc., has actually led to the fact that Muradin is now back in town. And I like me some Muradin. He's a very flexible, character. He adds a lot of mobility and explosiveness to the game, so definitely good to see him back. And he's going to be a very happy dwarf here because 2% tank shredders are already on his side here with the Malthael and Tychus. So on the flip side, that should put Diablo in a little bit of a precarious situation here, Tetra, because he's going to have to really think carefully of when to engage.
He needs help, and let's see what kind of help we can see here with a solo laner being a extra tool that is required here. So someone with maybe a little bit of extra health to try and draw some Malthael aggro might also be a unit. Otherwise, Diablo's just going to get burned down, be forced to swap out, and that means there's going to be no one protecting that Jaina and Hanzo. So they have to play into their opponents and go something a little bit tankier here.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Blaze in the past here in China with the bunker as an escape tool as well to maybe sometimes dodge the Malthael last rites. But guess what? Speaking of last rites and focus fire and, bursting down the tank, Medivh could help here with his Force of Will, of course. But it's a rather unusual call, isn't it, Tetra?
It really is. I mean, the burst protection is going to be great against potential last rites. Against Salvo, if they get the circle of protection, that could be absolutely monstrous. But it's a lot of synergy required, considering once again they still only have the single Diablo tank. If they don't get blow-ups, because Medivh Diablo definitely gives them the opportunity for blow-ups, which is fantastic for them. But if they don't get them, then longer running team fights are way going to go in the favor of the one.
Yeah, definitely true. I fully believe that the one has this in the bank the longer the team fight goes, right? So the battle plan for Beyond the Game here is going to be to find an opening, to find a good flanking opportunity, maybe with a Diablo, maybe with a Medivh if you land a good Leyline Seal. Leyline Seal Apocalypse could still be a thing, who knows? Especially if combined with all the burst damage that a that a Jaina offers, and maybe even the Dragon's Arrow is going to come in very handily here. But then again, we've also seen a lot of Lightning Breath. How would you say, Tetcher, is the combo potential here? Do you still think that Apocalypse should be the go-to with the Leyline Seal, or do you think the Lightning Breath is so oppressive, it's so strong right now, it should be the go-to?
Honestly, I think Lightning Breath's a little bit overrated. I mean, it's still fantastic in certain combos, but I think they have easily enough burst set up with Dragon Arrow, Twilight Dream, Roots, that they can probably get a pretty decent APOC play. And especially with Ring of Frost too, I think that might be the play.
All right, we're going to find out who's going to reign supreme in this first game between Beyond the Game and TheOne. And on the left-hand side, the men in blue, you can see them here. It is BTG, also known as Beyond the Game. A very strong-looking team at the moment with 619 on the main tank on Diablo, LLK on the Medivh, Druid is rocking that Malfurion, dancing on the Hanzo, and Jaina is played by 3.
And on the right, it is TheOne with Hugo Malthael, Muggle on Tychus, Meng on this Phoenix, Hehe on Muradin, and ZJZ is playing Deckard Cain.
Deckard Cain, man, he's been making quite the impact here in China after most of the teams ignoring him for the first couple of games. Never mind, hold on, Meng teleports out to safety, but TheOne needs to retreat here immediately. That trade, that first skirmish didn't look all too good. But yeah, Deckard Cain, he was ignored for the most part in week 1, day 1, and parts of day 2, and we're already getting curious as to where he remained. But then you know, a couple of teams started picking him. They started to get really good results with him. And as a result, he's now, you know, a really good pick in most of the Chinese games. For now, though, the one they're building up a lot of pressure.
Ken, we'd like to draw your attention to the current lane setup for these teams.
Jada
double laning, Decade solo laning. I get the feeling the teams have not fully settled on their lane setups and just split for the experience while trying to pick each other. But no, Malthael's double laning. He's moving back for... Oh, okay, so they were delaying for the camp. All right, this is understandable. But Decade, very much not well known for his solo laning capabilities. But what we see here is him just being in range for experience to give Malthael the chance to join for the Bruiser camp. This is going to set up a little bit better for the one moving into the mid stage, or maybe even get a push onto the top lane. You can see Decade now rotating out of that lane, as he's already soaked most of the XP there, and that's going to give Malthael the chance to rotate into it.
Yeah, and that is, of course, the beauty here of On a Pale Horse, right? With Malthael, you actually a really good double circle. You can actually rotate super fast thanks to your increased mount speed. And we could actually see something very interesting here. The timing by Beyond the Game on that Bruiser camp was immaculate. Unfortunately for them, though, they were already down one tower here, right? Because of that strong early game push coming in for the one. So already this red Bruiser camp is going to deal so much damage. And Hehe, look at that. He's just toying with his opponents, chugging those potions in, and they actually get the retaliation kill because so much attention was put on the Muradin, but then they forgot to actually take care of the backlane as well. And as a result, Hanzo is dead. Can they actually equalize the score here in Muradin? No, he escapes actually with a sliver of health.
Dwarf Toss into the shielding potion with the clutch save there. In the meantime, Malthael and Jaina both dual lane with their teams, so XP there is completely equal. Nothing is lost or gained there. But we might see another advantage taken by the one if they can kill Jaina here, but they can't. Instead, he takes a lot of damage and has very low mana, so he's going to be forced likely to port.
Yeah, that's a classic. That's a classic Hehe for you right there. Low on mana, low on health. I don't care. Let's still go in and try to get that kill. But it was all calculated as well. He is probably the most aggressive player that has always calculation on his side. You know, he never, or I shouldn't say never because it's China, but he rarely engages into team fights without knowing his limits, right? So that's a really cool thing to observe, and that is why he was the one's key player this week.
I would agree. And you mentioned he doesn't go without knowing his limits. I would argue the issue with that is sometimes he is overclocked like a graphics card. And as such, he knows his limits. Unfortunately, his limits have been artificially set a little bit too high and might overheat sometimes. As we see Hugo backing up, he sees Medivh and might be afraid of more rotations. Now, however, he has vision, so Malthael immediately moves back onto the point, as everyone has shown in mid.
Alright, so Meng needs to be a little careful. This constant harass by dancing on the Hanzo actually causes his shields to go get chunked down, and there we go. Down goes Meng. The caster curse is real, but I think we could actually see this happen from a mile away here because those beautiful scatter shots, well aimed, they consistently prevented the shields of... Never mind, is Hugo going to do it? Medivh?
He teleported into it. Oh. If he hadn't gone back through that portal, he might have got it. He tried to be too fancy.
I think two things happened here, Tetra. I think on the one hand, Dancing tried to basically get his Raven back, right? Because of that level 4 talent. So he tried to have another Raven familiar to deal additional auto attack damage in the slow. But I think he was also scared of Hugo having that last second teleport dodge of his W and then maybe executing Medivh after all. And if you're Medivh and you're still stacking up, you don't want to take those risks, right? So he could have probably taken that kill, but on the other hand, he could have also died. And in that case, the punishment would have been way greater than the reward of maybe one kill.
Very true. Always prioritize stacks as Medivh. Unless, of course, you are in the late game and you somehow have 2 stacks because you died earlier, in which case you might as well just start sacrificing to get the kills. For now, we have 619 just putting on a little bit of pressure with his Firestorm. Not the most amount of damage, but it's poke, and it's a little bit of sustain as well, so it's not so bad.
Yep. All right, so Beyond the Game now building up a lot of pressure in the bottom. Of course, they're gearing up, right? They're gearing up for the second temple phase, which should go live in a few moments from now. And the more damage you deal, priorly, the more damage the laser is then going to inflict on the fort. And that is, of course, the ultimate goal here for that second temple phase. Up to this point, though, I think the one's macro play has been pretty strong. They already destroyed and demolished the top fort altogether. And that was all because of that strong early rotation and the good timing on the Bruiser camp as well. You know, destroying a tower early, then tearing down the gate, and Let's see, speaking of those bruiser camps, they both have now respawned, and Beyond the Game is already on it. Of course, for the second temple phase, it's really rewarding to have this top bruiser camp waltzing, because it deals so much damage if left unattended, and with all the attention being there in the bottom half, that could actually be the case.
And here's the issue with Malthael as a solo laner. He is not capable of doing these bruiser camps on his own in a timely fashion, or sometimes even
it takes too long, yeah.
It's exactly. So he really does need the assistance. We're going to see Phoenix and Decker Kane moving into that bruiser camp instead, while Malthael begins clearing up the enemy one. This is a slightly smarter move due to the fact that they're going to gain that top advantage, which they already have the tier 2s open. So they're going to open themselves up for a potential keep push later on. And they can still try and rotate down. They're going to be a little late for the start of the phase, but they might be able to start making the play. Malthael needs to get that on a pale horse to work.
Absolutely. He needs to rush down to his allies' aid as quickly as possible, but I think he's already been doing a good job. Like, the one is going to take a little bit of fort damage there because the temple is now in the possession of Beyond the Game. But Jaina, on the other hand, she also has not really been participating in this temple fight, so if the one wanted to go for it, they could actually force a 4 versus 4, but I think instead they're trying to gear up for a gank on Jaina.
Possibly. No, looks like they're going to try and make a play onto bot. Remember, Malthael will take far less time to rotate down here than Jada, and they know that they're missing one of the best assassins. They're moving in for Malfurin, changing their mind. It's moving on to the point with Diablo being the one forced to take the shots. The final shots are stolen away by the one here. It's not many, but it saves their bottom 4, opens up the shots, and in the meantime, the bruiser camp keeps on pushing. Finally, Free begins to rotate.
Yeah, I want to see how much damage that bruiser camp in the top lane has actually been inflicting onto the gate here. Never mind, that is a great scroll of ceiling here by Decker Kane, but no follow-up by the Muradin or the Phoenix. Looks like they just want to play it slowly. They want to play the mercenary game, protect the siege giants, wait for the minions before they do any brave diving maneuvers. Now look at Meng. He's going to be the most crucial team member to maintain this siege up. Minions are going to run out here in a bit, and that means, of course, forward aggro on the Heroes of the One. So they play it very patiently, and they pull back. They don't want to take any unnecessary fights right now.
You mentioned Meng being the most important hero for the siege. He's the most important hero in this composition, potentially full stop. As look at the composition, look at the talents. Everyone has built themselves around him. The Muradin Slam, even Malthael did go for what is still a fairly usual solo lane talent, but went for the slow on his Q and Tormented Souls, applying a consistent slow to the team. 3 is probably going to die here. Nice to die on the vision, though, to find himself some time. Ring of Frost. Pick up try and pick up the counter kill there, but Meg able to teleport away. Here comes Diablo, though, from the side. Portal is cancelled. They decide against it.
Yeah, Meng immediately with the teleport saying, okay, guys, peace, I'm out, after getting that very satisfying kill. Even got the Ring of Frost out there, which is not the longest of cooldowns, as you can see, 60 seconds until it's ready again, but it's still a pretty significant cooldown to basically have on your radars. And now look at that. 619 thinks he's had enough, and he's trying to make that engage happen, but he might not be the most ideal of targets to actually go for. Now, we talked about this combo before, Tetra, during the draft, the Lane Line Seal Apocalypse. We have yet to see it go down once again and engage onto 619. He's taking a lot of damage, is rooted right now, cleansed, and here we have a team fight.
Meng going far too far forward. Dragon Arrow does not land, though, but they still picked up the kill. But now incoming in through the portal to sleep, giving them the escape opportunity. They're woken up by Muggle, who uses the overkill. In comes Jada, looking for ZJ's dead. He is trapped in between a piece of sandstone and a hard devil as they move forward, looking for Muradin as well, which they will likely get. Stormbolt is whiffed, overpower, actually towards his own base, and he is delivered to freedom.
Yeah, I think 619 wanted to go for the overpower first and then slam Muradin into that tiny wall piece over there, but I think he misjudged his cooldowns there, because you could see the Shadow Charge not happening immediately, and now still the damage has been done, and BTG is going to take that easy peasy boss here thanks to the PvE damage, the superior PvE damage of Hanzo here. So still a mighty win if you think about it. The bottom temple is still in their possession as well, and it was a 5 versus 4 situation from the get-go, because Hugo on that Malthael, he was top the entire time, trying his team to get at least a little bit of structural value. So the zealous, I want to call it, play here by Meng, once again being a little too far forward on the Phoenix, costs the one a lot of momentum here. And Beyond the Game, looks like they're going to stabilize and actually maintain control over the bottom. 619, I don't think he expected this early reinitiation. He's safe for now, thanks to Medivh.
Nice move by TheOne, by Hehe, stunning 619 as he comes through the portal, but they can't chase him far enough. In comes the Dragonair on 3 members. APOC for the follow-up. Tormented Souls, though, is just burning through 619, but he's tanking it. Murdered with the follow-up stun. Sleep is only on Mavurion. Do they have a follow-up? No, they don't. Even with this fort down, they're only going to get the single kill here unless 619 overextends, but here comes 3 from behind. The Blizzard being dropped. Ring of Frost being saved. There it is. Immediately dodged by Meng as Hugo is dropped down. So is Muggle. 3 is popping off. He's going for a third, looking for ZJZ. Lands this Frostbolt, and it's going to be ZJZ going down, but the salvo for the counter gets one.
And
Dance is dropping low. Meg's looking for the counter. Beautiful route by Druid, and that becomes a 4 for 3.
Yeah, beautiful play by Beyond the Game once again. That Jaina drive-by as well, coming in with a quick flank attack, taking out 2 members of TheOne. This is exactly how you want to play Jaina. This is the moments where she really thrives, and we're going to take another look at that replay here. Now, so many members are low on the side of TheOne, and here comes 3. Look at him go all the way here, actually catching so many members in those spells here. He ends up falling himself, I believe. The Ring of Frost actually barely missing here because of a good dodge, but you know, it was still a beautiful fight. ZJZ and Meng tried to delay the inevitable. Here comes the reinitiation with the salvo as well. Jada not having the ice block ready just yet. But then comes a beautiful juke dance by Dancing. And with the superior range of the auto attacks from Hanzo, he takes out Meng and stops his killing spree.
Like we said, that was a 3 for 4 with Diablo coming back though, but that does mean he is now a little bubby Diablo, very squishy as he's lost his souls. In comes the Dragon Arrow, but it's very short range, allowing Meng to teleport away. Now it's Hehe who is in danger. In comes the Scroll of Sealing, going to try and turn it around as a beautiful avatar. The sleep is huge. They're trying to move forward, trying to get to the backlines. The Tormented Souls dives forward. Can Malthael pick up the damage numbers as Diablo teleports away? He'll get taken out by the Odin from above, and the rest of BTG in full retreat. Hehe trying to get in range for the CC, but that continuous dismount is good. Room for Mavurion, though, not landing, but Hehe has massively outpaced his teammates here, and everyone else is able to escape.
You could really see how things could go really south for Beyond the Game the moment the team splits up. Look at the positioning here. Hanzo and Diablo, they're going to spread away from the Medivh, and as a result, with the Hanzo leap here, they're completely out of range from potential portals. I mean, Medivh was still kept asleep here for the entire team fight, so I don't think it would have even mattered, but the portals and the cohesion here for Beyond the Game, they need to maintain a strong formation in those team fights so Medivh will be able to provide an escape route if needed. That really was what broke their back there in that team fight, and it came at a very unfortunate time because look at that. Now we have 2 temples coming up here. And I think with all the momentum gathered, TheOne is going to be able to maintain map control here. Hugo already pushing the top lane. So top temple, it's actually only 1 temple, my mistake, is going to be in position of TheOne for now. Let's see how quick the rotation response from Beyond the Game can actually be.
Pretty quick. They're all here. They are very much scouted, though, thanks to that Bruiser camp. Bot lane slightly pushing up against TheOne, but it's nothing that is currently an immediate danger for them to have to react to. So for now, it's all about this top area. Medivh has seen pretty much everything, so we're seeing a very quick rotation onto Hugo. Shield is down. The stun does not land from Diablo there. He's forced back up. Mavurion is the target. Salvo is at the ready. They're trying to hold it, buying themselves some time. It comes the slow from the Odin Leyline, though, with the follow-up. APOG, well-timed, gets the Odin Ring of Frost on 3 members as Meg tries to wrap around. This looks familiar as Meg gets completely deleted here. The Tormented Souls into the backline, trying to pick off someone, but the full retreat is coming out here from BTG. They picked up the kill. It's all about getting out alive now. Tychus Odin expires, and they can't siege. Muggle has been off more than he can chew. The greed for the counter kill is his undoing.
That was crazy. I think Meng played so recklessly, so aggressively, so that Muggle was actually the one laughing assassin cleaning up the remaining team members of Beyond the Game. But unfortunately, everything failed for Beyond the Game thanks to the efforts of Medivh, who had those AoE shields ready when they needed them to be ready. They're not even done yet. Who needs a temple when you can get a Hugo? And Beyond the Game take yet another kill. Staggered deaths all over the place. They ignore the temple that could actually bite them. Look at how low the top keep is actually getting, Tetra, but they prefer the boss and maybe want to go for a retaliation blow against the bottom keep of TheOne. This is a very unusual call.
You go into boss, Siege Giants being taken as well, looking for some good pressure. In the meantime, they've already lost a keep. Top keep went down to the temple here.
Yeah.
And now immediately you see the one finishing off the rest of that temple, porting back to base. They are now being pushed against with, like we said, a Siege Giant camp, a boss, and all 5 members. But Jaina is a little late. This is going to give them time, a little bit of a head start to begin burning down this boss. The triangles, the scroller ceiling being used to zone this out. This keep will certainly die. That is a foregone conclusion. The question is, can they not die? Can they set up to defend the core, as that will be the target of BTG?
Odin has been used. They need all the tools now to hold this core. The boss is 50%. Murden's going in. He cannot afford to die, but he dies. And Tetris, this is big trouble now for the one.
The APOG is dodged though. Beautiful sleep. This is going to allow them to take down the boss and then begin to turn this round. The tackle will finally interrupt the sleep. Boss is down though. Here comes the salvo. Can this be enough? It's a huge amount of damage, but Meg has dived way too deep once again. Hugo is super low. He has tormented souls. He needs to buy himself some time. Grabs the fountain. ZJZ also alive, but it's all 5 members. Malfurion has healed them up. The catapults helping with the deep push right now. ZJZ coming out trying to zone as Hugo. He can't dive in. He can't get tormented souls off. He's getting completely zoned out, and that's going to be it. That is GG, and game 1 goes over to BTG.
Cool, calm, and collected. That's how Beyond the Game played it. They had a plan in mind, they had a master plan, and they executed it exactly the way they wanted to. Instead of going for the temple and losing precious moments, they realized, you know what, we're going to take off Hugo here to actually have more staggered death against the one. And then we're going to take that boss, combine that with the power of our catapults, and of course the Siege Giants, and then they win for a clean, cookie-cutter clean core call. I mean, sure, you could argue the one could have defended that a little better, but I think it was mostly just Beyond the Game playing so darn well. With all the AoE protection tools they had, right? The Circle of Protection, the Tranquility, everything just really seemed to make a lot of sense there.
It really did. It really did. But honestly, I was looking at the other side and I thought, this is a really good setup for a Phoenix composition. I felt really confident in that. I thought the combo of BTG would be too hard to execute, and they really only got that combo once. But they were actually in that Mercenary camp fight, in the Bruiser camp fight a little bit earlier. Meng had salvo. And it was a really good dive in with the slowing Q coming in from Malvale, and he never actually dropped salvo in that fight, even though it was off cooldown.
Yeah.
I think the synergy from the one was a little bit shaky there, and BTG, they just looked, even though they weren't synergistic, every single one of their players was playing well enough and were exploiting the mistakes of the one that I easily think they deserve that win.
It's very, very unusual for us to actually criticize Meng. I just noticed how weird it sounds for you to say, like, you know, Meng could have done this, Meng could have maybe done that. Meng's positioning was a little off, but I fully agree with you. I think Meng actually had a couple of moments in which he maybe wanted to bite off more than he could chew. He was oftentimes actually positioned in front of his tanks, trying to get those chase kills down, you know, and maybe on a hero like Phoenix that is kind of frail, although he has the shields available, and of course the Deckard with the shielding potions behind his back, you just can't always go for those plays and expect to get away with it. And with him dying, I think 3 or 4 times in that game, and it didn't really last that long, that was just too much for his team to compensate. But also I want to highlight Hugo here. He remained largely unimpactful for the most time, right? He couldn't go last rites because of the Medivh potentially just blocking it off, so he went Tormented Souls. Have we seen a single big Tormented Souls play? I don't think so.
I mean, his Tormented Souls plays were all good. He went into the backline, he survived a long time, he was a great distraction, but his build was still that of a solo laner.
Yeah.
Against a not dedicated solo laner in the form of Jaina. I think his plan was to kill Jaina in the early game in like once or twice to give them an XP lead. I would have actually preferred, and this is going to sound weird, if I don't think he needed Touch of Death.
Right.
Which he didn't do. He went for the cold something. I'll look up the talent name in a second because I've done that twice now. I would have preferred if he went for the Black Harvest Memento Mori, because he was getting some really money Tormented Souls, and some extra damage to the backline, I think, would have been really impactful, because that's where he was basically all game.